Good morning and happy Wednesday, everybody. I am Justin Nimergood. I am your host of the Real Estate Rockstars Podcast. We have another wonderful week and guest here with us today, Mr. Sid Mohasseb. Mr. Sid is known as the entrepreneur philosopher, and for good reason. Sid Mohasseb is a serial entrepreneur, venture investor, university professor, best-selling author, and sought-after speaker who has built, led, and sold multiple companies while advising Fortune 500 executives on innovation, growth, and strategy. He's the author of The Caterpillar's Edge and You Are Not Them, and has delivered TEDx talks and global keynotes on how to thrive in times of change. As an adjunct professor at USC, he teaches on the use of AI and data analytics and dynamic business strategy. Sid's career blends business wisdom with forward-thinking innovation, and today he's here to share how to turn uncertainty into opportunity. Sid, welcome to the show.
Welcome to all the audience that you have. I'm happy to be with you and with them.
Oh, well, we're happy to have you here today. Now, Sid, I obviously enjoy getting to introduce everyone, but who people really are and who their bio says are usually two different things. So, I mean, in your own words, who is Sid Mohasseb?
Sid Mohasseb is just an average Joe who tries to get up every morning and create better.
Oh,
In his own way, I believe we're all entrepreneurs. We're all entrepreneurs who are trying to create a better version of ourselves. And if you look at my background, I've tried to do that over the years, some 40 years of my background, and it's been in different ways and creating the best way I could, and just like a caterpillar. That's you mentioned. One of my books is Caterpillar's Edge. Is the idea is that we're all this caterpillar trying to become the butterfly, and the first thing a butterfly does is actually lays the eggs for the next generation of caterpillars. So always evolving is what my motto is.
always evolving. I love that. I love that. And such a transformation that happens in that process of becoming a caterpillar, going from a caterpillar to a
You may not know, Justin, but the caterpillar changes 7,000 muscles.
wow.
7,000 muscles before it turns into a butterfly, which is an entirely a different species.
It's
See,
just
we grow as human beings, but we're still human beings. A lion is still a lion, a cat is still a cat. But butterfly, a caterpillar turns into an entirely different species, which can fly.
yeah, I mean, just the whole transformational process. And I did not know that. I'm sure most people out there probably did not know that. Little factoid for you: 7,000 muscles. Who would have
Yeah,
thought? Who would have thought that a butterfly even has, or I guess a caterpillar even has 7,000 muscles to change? Right?
yeah.
Very, very fascinating stuff.
And
So,
it has 4 or 5 stages. It's not just, it's not like this is what I always use as an analogy because, people think that life is like a switch. You turn on the switch and boom, there's success. A caterpillar goes into multiple stages. There's 4 or 5 different stages depending on the species. Some of them in Brazil, it takes 14 years for them to turn into a butterfly.
14 years. Oh my
Can you?
goodness.
I mean, there are some that is 4, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, but there's some that takes 14 years. I mean,
And so,
it's
is it true that they all only live for a day, or is that just certain species of butterflies?
no, 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 no. There are certain species. There's certain species of butterfly that travel from U.S. to Mexico for months, for example.
Wow,
Uh, I mean, it's not a day. It's a little more than a day or two.
a little more than a. Well, that's fantastic. Let's switch gears for a moment. We could sit here and talk about butterflies, I'm sure, all day, but I'm sure folks out there they want to get some of your secret sauce out there. I'd love to hear before we get into kind of the minutia of what you bring to the table and how you've become known as this entrepreneur philosopher. What was your first business? I'd love to hear about what your first business was.
My first business that you would call an official business was while I was at college. As before I've graduated, I did a part-time summer internship job at Flying Tigers, which was a competition to FedEx. Most people, young folks, may not know it. And uh, when I did that afterwards, a friend of mine continued working there. I went back to college, and she came to me and said, "Oh, Flying Tigers is closing shop." But we had worked on this business plan, which needed $200 million.
Hmm.
It was a facsimile service. Uh, So in those days, a facsimile or a fax machine, again, some of your audience may not even know what the hell that is, which is you could digitize a piece of paper and then you could send it across. And in those days, people didn't have two fax machines, so there was a facsimile service that they could bring the document to you. You could scan it, and then you had another machine needed to be on the other side, which most people didn't have. So we took that $200 million business that they were supposed to start, but they went broke, and we started it with about $10,000. That I had 2,500, and it was a challenge. We actually went to a building and said, "Hey, can we have one of your offices here, and uh, and we'll pay, I don't know, $100, $200 of rent, but your building is empty. Whenever you want us, we'll move to a different street." So we just rented an empty street essentially, and they would come every once in a while and say, "Oh, we've rented this. Move now into the next door." So we'll just pack up our stuff.
What
But so
a
that was the officially the first one, and then I sold my shares to my partners, and they sold the company to some other folks later on.
wow, wow. And what if we could only get business space and offices nowadays that way? Like, hey, you got an open office down there. Why don't we take it? I honestly think a lot of these office space buildings would probably behoove them to actually take that deal nowadays,
How
right?
about how see, we just came up with an idea, an Airbnb of offices. Huh?
There you go. Why
There
not?
you have
Why
it.
not? Why not? Now, I know speaking pre-show, you were telling me a little bit about your academy. So I want to make sure we leave some time for that. So tell everyone out there a little bit about what you got going on with your academy.
Sure. So the academy is a very non-academic place for us to co-learn together. So I call it a learning opportunity or a collaborative opportunity or a learning partnership. Uh, the idea is, in general, and this is going back to that entrepreneur philosopher business. I believe that we're all entrepreneurs because the
Mhm.
definition of entrepreneur is, if you go back to the 1700s, is that if you have something and you want to exchange that with something of higher value, you have something, you want to exchange it with something of higher value, knowing that there is risk, meaning you may not get it, you're an entrepreneur. That's the original definition of an entrepreneur. Has nothing to do with business, has nothing to do with money. So we're all able to exchange what we have with something better. But
Mm,
in this process, the main driver is who we are, and we're
mm,
all different. There are 8 billion people on the planet, and we're all different. It's who we are in terms of our talents, our capabilities, where we grew up, what we're doing, how much money we have, how much money we don't have, our environment, the reality we live in. Do we live in US, or do we live in Africa, or do we have, what do we have, who are we? And also includes our feelings, our abilities, all of that. So all of that I call activated mindfulness. So the academy is about taking what we have, which is this activated mindfulness, the collective of us, which is different for every one of us, and and fueling and powering up our entrepreneurial ability. So being able to mindfully look at what we can create, what we can do, how we can evolve in increments, recognizing, and this is the second book, which is, you are not them. We
mm,
are we. We have to build our own philosophy of entrepreneurship. I'll never be Elon Musk. I'll never be Jeff Bezos. I'll never be Bill Gates. I'll never be Steve Jobs. I am me.
Hmm.
And I come, we've all grown up at different places. We've loved different people. We've we've been beaten in the yards by different people. We played with different toys. We had all of that made us very unique. So the
Hmm.
idea is, can we tap into and realize our capabilities from a mindfulness perspective and connect that to how we grow and how we evolve, not once, but all the time.
Mm.
All the time. It's not, again, turning a switch on and saying, voila, I am now this. We're always in an evolution process. So that's what the academy is. We have memberships that are $1 forever.
$1
Uh,
forever. Wow.
and yes, we do have other capabilities and other things that people come. We have a wake up call every 2 weeks that's free for people to join, and we pick one topic. Like tomorrow, we have one, and the topic is courage. We have a series of what we call expert circles, and we have folks like Marty Cooper, the inventor of cell phone, that we sits with me and we talk about again one topic: uh, unfolding fear, unfolding courage, unfolding resilience, unfolding all of that together. So that's what the academy is.
That's so wonderful that you've found kind of this niche service out to everyone, and so much needed today in today's society where you've got these homogenous groups in some areas, but you have people just, I would say in general, are desiring community, right? More than anything. And so you're providing this community platform for them
Absolutely. Absolutely.
that they
You
can
know, the
plug in.
problem, the problem, the problem is, and this is partly why I was driven to do this. In our society today, with this social media and all that, we have so many things that say, "Do one, two, three. This is practical for you. Do one, two, three. You're going to be a trillionaire, a billionaire, this and that." There's this bombarding of things that are packaged in somebody's view, and what's practical for me is not practical for you. Life is not like IKEA, that you buy a furniture and says assemble these three things and boom, that doesn't work that way. We're human beings with feelings, with different capabilities, and we have to find our own. Now, is that a little harder than buying a thing that says do these three things? Yeah, it's a little bit harder. It's Caterpillar goes through 7,000 muscles to change. It's a little bit harder than going to a store and buying some butterflies off of a Petco.
Little
A
different out
little
there.
different, but it's sustaining. It's workable for you. It fits who you are, and it's in your business, in your life, all blended together. It is your prosperity, not a packaged prosperity you can buy from Ralph's.
Yeah, yeah, I hear you. Now, one thing I always love asking, especially entrepreneurs like yourself out there, because I think we've all been there, is what is your greatest entrepreneurial or business failure?
Uh, but the greatest it qualifies it that there are many greatest.
Okay,
Uh, there,
choose one for sake of our audience.
uh, I would say, but some of these failures have turned into to successes eventually. So, from my perspective, because the learning so I'll give you one. I have a problem of being ahead of the market.
Okay, yeah.
All right, it's my problem, and I'm starting to learn it at 65, but still, I guess I have this disease that staying ahead of the market. So I started a business in the '90s, late '90s, uh, through the this .com era, the 2000 beginning of 2000, and the business was aggregating data from various companies and creating what we called a dashboard. At that time, executive dashboard didn't exist, so I phrased the coin executive dashboard. So we had clients like BB and Taylor and Guess and others. We had clients from different states, and we aggregate all of this data from different people, and we create these metrics or KPIs that you could compare. I don't know, development of something in China by different factories, and they can have KPIs to compare themselves. Uh, it was ahead of its time. The capabilities of the technology wasn't there yet. It needed a lot of money to do it, and we had some success. So one but 3 months before the 2000 drop of the dot com and the market went to hell and all that, I realized that the market has turned and we cannot raise any more capital, which was this was a
Mm,
venture backed business.
mm.
And so I had to get up, and I made the decision. I was the chairman. I was the largest investor, and I had to get up in front of all the employees and say, "Hey, we are throwing the towel. This is not a mission critical business. The market has turned on us. We do have a little bit of money in the bank, but we're throwing the towel." Now, the so this was a failure. We had to close it. Big business, lots of people. Now the success part of it was about 20 minutes after I did this speech, one guy named Justin. So it so happens that his name was as same as yours.
I'm like, are you kidding me right now here?
No, Justin. Justin was a programmer at that time. He was a young man, 20 some years old, 22, 23. He walked into my office with his checkbook, and he said, "I believe in what we're doing. I have $1,800. I want to write a check. Can we survive?" Now, that I call success.
Hmm. That's belief. Belief even in your darkest hours, right?
That's belief. That is belief. So failures are when if you realize that there are things in it. So, for example, I gave money back to my investors. And at that point, they said, "You're crazy. This is wonderful." I said, "No, it's not going to work." 3 months later, I didn't know. I didn't have a crystal ball, but the market tanked. It dropped by 50% or some number, a huge number. And they came to me and said, "How did you know?" I said, "I'm reading the tea leaves. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. It doesn't." I didn't do it because the market was dropped.
Yeah, right,
I did it
right.
because the mechanics wasn't there. So those folks have sent me emails that say, "We've never had anybody do that to us." Is that success? Yeah, that trust that I gained through that process is success. But was the business failure? Yes, it was.
But sometimes the greatest business failures end up being successes, and that's why I love the triumph that we can endure, that we can have really in these entrepreneurial businesses, more so than probably anything out there, right?
But
But it takes a
Justin, it
certain
is it.
special mind. It takes a special
Yeah,
purpose.
what I'm saying. It is a choice. You make it. You choose that. Am I a failure, or am I learning something in this process? Right?
Mm.
You choose at the end. Now, I don't believe in. I did believe in this. I have to admit. Guilty as charged. I'm an alcoholic or whatever. At some point, I I believed in this nonsense that you have to fail fast and fail often. This is a Silicon Valley thing. Is fail fast, fail often. And I came to the conclusion that I saw these entrepreneurs just failing for the sake of failing. It is stupid to fail. Nobody wants to fail. We should try to win, but failure is a part of life. But when we fail, we should learn and turn that into something. Not that fail fast, fail often, fail quick. No, no, no. We're not in the business of failing. We're in the business of succeeding, making progress. But failure is part of life. And if it comes, then how do you turn that into something? You mentioned in your introduction of me, and I think it was worth repeating. You said that I focus on turning uncertainty into opportunity. Now,
Mm. Yes.
nobody can take uncertainty into certainty because certainty doesn't exist.
Mm.
All we have is uncertainty that is felt, that's realized, and we can create out of that chaos and out of that uncertainty some level of opportunity, and then we have a choice.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I mean the whole world is built on choices. Choices good, choices bad. You know, are we going to look at it through a certain lens? Um, I appreciate you sharing that story though, right? Of triumph of failure. You know, it's a hard thing for us to do is to swallow our pride and to just say, you know what, I messed up. I screwed up big, right? But here was what came out of it. I'd like to switch gears for a second, though. We're gonna go to our kind of our last segment of the show, and this is where I'm gonna ask you some fun zingers, Sid. So
Okay,
be ready for them. All right, there's some
I'm
curveballs
ready.
here.
I'm ready. Zing me, brother.
All right, so you said you're about 65 right now. So let's fast forward. Let's say it's your 80th birthday, and who just set it up for us. Who's there? What's going on? How are you celebrating? Set up your 80th birthday for us, if you would.
So the same people that were on my 25th birthday, on my 30th birthday, and my 65th birthday, which is a group of folks that we went to college together. But and they're now married and they have kids and all that. So it's like 15 or 20 of us. Probably the same people, if they're alive, will be there. And that I take pride in, having people that I have known for, frankly, as friends for 50 years. People have one friend of 50 years and they're proud I have many. So it probably would be, if I can walk, it will probably be in my. I have a place in Mexico which is right by the ocean.
Mm.
It'll probably be there. It will involve some tequila if my doctors allow it. Uh,
Are we a
and
Blanco? Are we an Añejo? Are we what,
anejo.
yeah, okay. The good stuff.
Good stuff, yes, sir. Life is too short.
I love
Um,
it.
so that's probably the setting, and there'll be music, there'll be dancing, there'll be drinking,
They'll be good
and
friends.
there'll be love. Yeah.
That's fantastic. I do love hearing that and hearing how people envision, you know, the I don't want to say it's the end of your life, but it's the, you know, we're getting toward the end of your life there. Now, this next one's kind of fun and it's similar to the last one, but it's got a slight variation to it, right? So let's imagine now it's your last day on Earth and you can only preserve three items in your time capsule. Okay. What are those items and why?
I'm not just saying this. I probably wouldn't preserve any items. I may preserve uh, three lessons uh, that I can leave for others if I'm gone.
Mhm.
Uh, Two or three lessons. The first one is uh, I would tell anybody. I'll tell kids. I'll tell old. I'll tell young. Listen, please listen. The world has a lot to teach you, and it's not just listen to me. It's listen to Justin. Listen to Justin's kid. Listen to the clerk at the bank. Listen. Not just to hear. Listen to absorb, because there's so much to learn. And if you start earlier to listen, you just have more choices in life.
Mm.
You understand more. It's just so that would be one. Um, a second one uh, would be trust. Would be learn to trust first yourself, then others. Because if you can trust yourself and genuinely trust, not uh, beating your chest and saying I'm all this, fear not, none of that nonsense. Truly trust yourself with your capabilities, which means you knowing yourself, which means understanding yourself. Learn to trust yourself and trust others, because without others we are no one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Without others there is nothing. There is nothing. And if you trust yourself and you trust others, the amazing compounding rate of return is their trust in you,
Mm.
which is unbelievably valuable. That's what I
Absolutely.
believe.
Wow. Wow. And I love that you take a different stance on it. Which by the way, I'll say we've had all kinds of different answers. We've had people say things like memories. We've had, they I love that people aren't bound by the word items, as you said, right?
Well, you bring people that probably think outside of the boundaries. So that's why they call me the philosopher, because I've got this thing about the intangibles.
The intangibles, absolutely. All right, so here's the last one, and this one's pretty easy compared to the last two. But what is your definition of a real estate rock star?
Uh, Definition of a real estate rock star. Um, so obviously, it has a physical, structural meaning, that somebody who understands real estate. And rock star is the star part of it is being able to really uh, shine at it, if you would, meaning turning the transactions and turning that into something that's sustainable. Now, you could have a rock star, which might mean that you could be a mover and a shaker, and with a drum beat, and a born in the USA kind of a slogan, which is uh, buying, keeping transactions, and doing well. Or you could have a punk rock star, or you could have someone who's a classical rock star, classical star of real estate, which is someone who may buy things and keep things and slowly grow an asset. But
Mhm.
essentially, it's someone who turns real estate into an opportunity and into prosperity in some form.
Couldn't have said it better myself. There you have it, Mr. Sid Mohasseb. Such a master, I'll say a master class here today. Sid, I want to make sure our subscribers, our listeners out there have a chance to connect with you. I'm sure they're going to have questions. I'm sure they're going to want to connect with you about, the caterpillar's 7,000 muscles to becoming a butterfly and all that fun stuff that we learned here today. What is the best way for them to do that?
So, my first name and last name is also my email. So it's sid@mohasseb.com, and I do respond to it. I look at it myself. I get 400 or 500 emails a day. So I'm available. I would like to invite them to go to annabasisacademy.org. Anna Basis is ANA, means moving up in Latin. Anna
Mhm.
Basis means the base. Anna
Mhm.
Basis means moving the base up. Academy.org, not .com, .org. And check it out, and they can drill down. And we have this wake up call. We have lots of engagements and so forth. Some are for free, some are dollars, some are more expensive, of course. uh, but I would encourage them to do that. If they Google me they'll see my multiple TED talks. They can see my books. They can, on Amazon, my books are there available to them. So I'm very easy to find. Actually, I talk a lot, and I'm old and very opinionated. I have probably over over 150 articles, from Time magazine to Newsweek to Independent to Harvard Business Review to London School of. So I am opinionated, so they can find me on the net very easily.
There you have it, Mr. Sid Mohasseb. Thank you so much for coming on our show today. We really appreciate you. We appreciate your wisdom and your philosophy, if you will. Folks, there you have it. Another great episode here on the Real Estate Rockstars. I'm your host, Justin Nimergood. We're signing off for today. We'll be back again next week. Same time, same place, everyone. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.
It's been a pleasure.